thought it might make sense to do another demo on a couple of things. One, multi-timeframe. That's something that has been helpful just in looking at different charts and different time frames to be able to pick up indicators from different time frames for the same security or for the same symbol. So just really quick, jump into Pine Editor and let's just create a new multi-timeframe strategy. Well, it'll just be a study for the most part, but we can comment out, or actually we'll just delete the existing strategy information. Let's call this multi-timeframe demo 2. Let's set the overlay to false. That way it won't show up on top of our candles. And that's good for right now. So we'll need, let's say we want to do a moving average, and we want to look at the moving average for different time frames for this symbol. We'll need a source. We'll need a short moving average number of bars back to look on the moving average. We'll need a, actually, rather than short, let's call that fast. We'll need a slow to show when they cross. For the source, you can just put close or open high-low, close for, or whatever you want to put in here, but if you put it into an input statement, you can change it on the fly with the settings and see how that impacts your strategy. So we'll do an input, title, type, def val, just go with close. We want to do the same thing for fast and slow bars back. We could say for right now, we'll just set these at a number, and then we'll say moving average, fast moving average, do exponential moving average, slow, this is how we would plot this out just for a basic moving average script. We'll save that and add it to our chart so we can see what it looks like. So here we just have a basic moving average plot down here, and when the fast moving average is above, that would generally indicate a buy, and when it crosses below the slow moving average, that would generally indicate a sell, here on this bar, and then it wouldn't buy back in until this bar here. But let's say we want to look at what are the moving averages looking like for longer time frames or different time frames. So we go back to the script. Let's go ahead and make these inputs also so we can change those. It's an integer, just a whole number. Keep it at 3 for right now. I'm going to do the same thing here. Alright, so let's save that. And all that input here, all that does is it allows you to make changes, like I said, as you're looking at the chart. with this format button, or this little gear icon. So here, because we declared source, or we set the source to this input, we could say open, and that changes the chart slightly. We could go high, low, close 3. That changes it a little bit. And then we can also adjust our moving average number of bars that we're looking at here to change, and you can see the changes to the chart in the background as we make those changes. We'll just hit cancel for right now. So let's say we want to show 3 different time frames. We're currently looking at the 1 hour chart. Let's say we want to show in this window what the weekly, if the weekly moving average is signaling a buy, the daily, and maybe the 3 hour. So let's look at 3 different time frames, and that would be considered a different resolution that we're looking at in the chart. So we can get that with the security function. It's a built-in function. So if we want to say our long time frame is a week, just copy this. $180 for 180 minutes, 3 hours. D for daily. So we have our 3 resolutions here, and so say we want the long resolution. We'll call that security function. That's going to ask for 3 things. It'll look for the symbol, the resolution, and the expression, or the expression just being the source, or whether we're looking for close, open, high, low, etc. So security, we'll just type in ticker. That'll bring up whatever ticker we have up in this box. For resolution, the first one will go long, and then for the expression we'll go with source, which is currently set to close. Let's do the same thing for mid and same thing for short. Could definitely come up with some better variable names here. Actually, just to get a, let's just get a moving average convergence and divergence, basically just the fast minus the slow. That'll give us, if it's a positive number, then the fast is obviously above the slow, and if it's a negative number, then the slow is crossed over the fast, or a cell. So long moving average, do exponential moving average, ln fast minus EMA ln slow. That'll give us the difference between the slow and the fast moving averages. Let's do MD, MA. Same thing for mid and short. let's plot these three, see what they look like. And just so we can differentiate the yellow, aqua, fuchsia, and save that, see what that looks like. Okay, so it looks a little bit messed up, but we can see that we are tracking, this yellow, you can tell, is the long moving average. So this is looking at the weekly moving average, and if it's negative or below 0, the weekly moving average is going to be negative. The fast is going to be underneath the slow, and then if it changes and goes positive, the weekly moving average is signaling a buy. And same thing for daily and the 3 hour. And you can see they're just kind of staggered. This is kind of hard to look at, hard to interpret anything. So if we want to make this a little bit more readable and say, just get a snapshot of what do these different time frames moving averages really, what do they really show, a buy or a sell indicator. What we can do is we can take we can make plots and just say running out of ideas on the variable names, but we'll say L1, M1, S1 for long, mid, and short. And let's put L1 on the bottom, assign the value of 1 to it, 2 to mid, and 3 to short. And then let's make some custom colors. L color, M color, S color for long, mid, and short. And L color, we want it to be, with each of these, we want them to be lime or green if the number it's coming up with is positive, if the fast is greater than the slow. We want it to be red if the slow is greater than the fast. So L color, and we'll do an if statement. The way we do that in PineScript, there's a couple of operators here. With L color, we can say L color greater than 0, and then have a question mark, and that's just saying if that statement is true, we want the L color to be lime, and if it's not, if it's anything other than greater than 0, we'll go red. Same here. Not thinking straight. We're not evaluating the color. We're evaluating L and MA. And all right. So we have our colors. We have our assignments where these will go on 1, 2, and 3. So we're going to plot L1, L2, and L3. Align, and for the color for L1, we want that to be L color. Not L1, L2, L3. L1, M1, S1, M color, S color. Alright, Let's make these lines wide. Let's plot that and see what it looks like. Got an error somewhere. Line 28. Line width. Oh, misspelled it. Okay, so there's our indicator right now. We can push these down where. Alright, so now basically what we're looking at is we're looking at a 1 hour chart of SPY, and on the bottom we have the weekly moving average, whether it's positive or in this case negative, switches over to negative. We have a positive on the daily here, and then we can see when it turns negative, and then we have the 3 hour chart, positive and negative, or buy sell, however you want to look at it. And one thing that would make this a little bit easier too is you could do a function, and to do a function or declare a function, you could skip a little bit of this or consolidate it down a little bit. So let's just get rid of some of this stuff. It's a little bit complicated anyway. And let's do a function. We'll declare a function. We'll call it moving average, multi-timeframe, and then we want one input into this function, and that would be the resolution. And you can call it anything you want. Put any letter in there you want as a holding place. And then in order to make this a function, do the equal sign and the greater than sign. And what we're saying is when we call this function in the future, we want the function to calculate whatever we put out here. And you can make these multi-line too, but this should be fairly simple. So we want it to calculate the fast moving average minus the slow moving average for these different time frames. So we'll say exponential moving average. We're going to call the security function within or inside of the EMA, and security will have ticker, and then we need our resolution. That's where the R is going to go, and then we want our source, which is close, and then put the comma for how many bars back are we going to look for the fast, and we will plug in fast. And then we want to say minus EMA security ticker R SRC comma slow. Alright, so now we can get rid of this too. Now we've made our own function, and this will make things a little bit easier to understand as far as the code goes, I think, too. So let's say we can use these same variables down here we used for the colors, LN, MD, and SH equals MANTF, and this first resolution we want to pass through is the weekly. That's the longest. That should be it. MD of a daily. And we'll go 3 hours again. Alright, LNMA, got that. Got our colors. Let's make these line widths bigger. Yeah, so we get the same thing, just thicker lines. So you can see what we've done is basically we've taken this chart, and looking at the 1 hour chart, we can zoom out. We can see that, you know, here we have a top or a peak, and you know, we can see some of the moving averages, the short and the mid, you know, start to flash red here. They go back green for a bit, and then they all three go red, and you know, our longer term moving average stays red up until right here. But because we plugged everything in with inputs, and we can go in here and make changes and see how that affects the script. So first of all, we could change our source, see if we get anything different with high-low close 3. Not a ton, but be a little bit of a difference. You could really, you know, you really could, you know, with a strategy, if we actually had some back testing going on, you could see which, you know, what works best for your strategy. For the fast moving average, you know, we could bump that up. Same thing with the slow, see how that affects things. You know, the only thing that we didn't do that would be helpful is we could code these resolutions we pass in. We could code those in as inputs as well. Already had that and deleted it, but that's alright. Doesn't hurt to go back through. Didn't put a lot of planning into this, so apologize if it's a little bit confused. Alright, so now instead of passing through an actual string to indicate a week, we'll just put in long, mid, and short. That'll correspond up here to weekly, daily, and 3 hour, and then we can change this with inputs as well and see how that affects the chart. All right. So, hit the wrong button. Gear icon. Okay, so now we have our long time frame. We could move that down and see what it does if we move all three of these down. Say 1 day, 3 hour, 2 hour. Not a whole lot of discrepancy between the three there. 1 day, 1 hour, 30 minutes. But you can get an idea of what you can do here, and play around with it, see what works best, and if nothing else, give yourself a good visual reference as far as if the daily, weekly, or long, mid, short time frames are all showing buys as far as the moving average would be concerned. Get a quick visual reference. You can see when the short starts to flip red right here. The mid confirms that, and then the long eventually confirms that right here. Anyway, hope that helps with multi-time frame and maybe with functions a little bit too.